Welcome in. It's another episode of the Facemask podcast. I am Nick Payne. And once again, it's that time. The NFL playoffs are upon us. Less than 48 hours from this recording. And I am here to bring you our faithful gamblers. My DFS picks for the NFL Saturday slate. I grappled with this for a while. It gets more difficult as you advance. You know, it's kind of obvious. There are fewer teams, which means everybody's picking from the same player pool, which means more likely than not, you're going to have to find a couple of diamonds in the rough. Players that lower percentage owned. Not as many people have them in their lineups. You hit on those are often the difference makers between, getting your money back and actually having a payout. So, after breaking down the slates earlier in the week, let's go ahead and jump right in to the Saturday DFS picks. So, if you play FanDuel or DraftKings, it's typically the same format: 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, tight end, flex, defense. The early game is the Rams go to Lambeau to take on the Packers, and then the night game is between Baltimore and Buffalo. I'm going to start. I'm going to start with there's only one player actually that I have in the early game, which it's tough to not endorse more players in a game that involves the Packers. But I really like the night game for points to be scored, even in a tough matchup that involves the Ravens defense. But for the early game, I have to imagine there's going to be a lot of people that own Aaron Rodgers. There's going to be a lot of people that own Devontae Adams. And there's going to be a lot of people that roster Aaron Jones. Adams and Jones are the top players at their respective positions as far as price. Rodgers is number 2 at quarterback. I love them all. I'm fading them all. There's only one player I like from this game. You may have heard me mention his name a few times, breaking down the Saturday games. I think this is a smash spot for Cam Akers. I think he's an automatic for your DFS lineups in this game. It's pretty simple. At this point in the season, there aren't any easy matchups, or you're much less likely to find on paper a favorable matchups. These are the best teams that are left. But Akers has one. The Packers are 28th in the NFL against the run on the season. They can be run on. Teams have had plenty of success. At no point during the season were the Packers ever really were they able to clean this up. Meanwhile, for the Rams, Jared Goff is going to get the start. Could be still bothered by the thumb injury, but he was able to eventually come into the game, and he played well enough for the Rams to win. I'm still too nervous to take the Rams pass catchers in this bad matchup where it's going to be cold, and it very well could snow in Green Bay on Saturday. That's not a problem for the run game. Cam Akers, this is pretty simple. Saw the ball 30 times against the Seahawks. And if the Rams are going to have any shot on Saturday, they need to keep the Packers offense on the sideline. You do that by effectively running the football. I mean, in general, just keeping drives alive, but I think that's where the Rams are most likely to have success. And in this situation, on top of the good matchup, all you got to do is just follow the volume. Akers is the guy. Darrell Henderson remains on IR. And Malcolm Brown remains a clear backup option, who I would highly doubt sees too much playing time in this game. This is Akers' backfield right now. To me, this is an opportunity for Akers to continue to have, his second half breakout of his rookie season. So whether the Rams are able to continuously commit to the run in the game will obviously be of importance, because if the Packers get up, they're not going to be able to run as much. But Akers can catch it. So I think they will involve him heavily. And to me, it makes the most sense to lock him in there. It's tempting to find a way to get Aaron Jones in there. It's tempting to want to get Devontae Adams and of course, Aaron Rodgers in there. Their prices are high, and I think you can find a little bit more balance in your lineup by leaving them out. If they go off, well, that could be the drawback. But if they are all, if they do just enough to win the game and are relatively quiet otherwise, you'll be the big winner by leaving them out. So Cam Akers is the only player I'm endorsing from this game. So I have him locked in as one of the two running backs. The night game is where I have all my money. So let's break it down. My quarterback is going to be Lamar. I love Josh Allen. I pushed him hard last week. But this is another tough matchup. I think it's fair to say the Ravens are a little bit more battle-tested than the Colts. They're a better team than the Colts. And Lamar is the third highest priced quarterback on the Saturday slate. So you're saving a little bit of money while still getting an elite option at the quarterback spot. And between the three of them, between Rodgers, Allen, and Lamar, Allen and Lamar run, but Lamar is $800 cheaper than Josh Allen on FanDuel in a matchup that favors, I think, the Ravens' rushing attack. The Bills are a struggle against the run. They have all year. They did again in the wild card game. So I fully expect to see Lamar running. He may not throw for a ton, but I think the all-around production, the total yardage, passing and running the ball is going to be there for Lamar in a game where the matchup plays to his personal strengths as far as running the ball. So, subsequently, since I'm going with Lamar, I'm stacking. And there are two favorable matchups for the Ravens offense where they have strong skill position players. I'm stacking J.K. Dobbins, and I'm stacking Mark Andrews. So Akers is my RB1. I got Dobbins as my RB2. And I'm putting Mark Andrews in at the tight end. This is kind of simple. Again, the Bills are not good against the run. So I do like Dobbins. I like grabbing both Lamar and Dobbins here. I think they could both, score a rushing touchdown. And I'm grabbing Mark Andrews because the Colts tight ends just went ballistic against the Bills defense. Jack Doyle was the DFS play at the tight end spot during Wild Card weekend. Mark Andrews gets a favorable spot. He's clearly better, clearly more talented than any of the Colts tight ends. And while the volume in the passing attack is low, I think this is the spot where Mark Andrews hits. He can beat those Bills linebackers. They've not been able to cover the tight end all year. So it's a bit of a risk having both Lamar and Dobbins in there, but the Ravens want to run. The concern is if you try to stack the Ravens passing game. Like if you want to get Hollywood Brown in there, I get it. He's been on fire, and he's a great player. But I think as far as the Ravens passing game goes, this is a Mark Andrews game. Target your opponent's weaknesses, and the Bills are not very good covering the tight end. If you want to put Hollywood Brown in there, I get it. It's just as much as I like the Ravens Saturday night, it's a hard sell to get all of them in there, specifically the pass catchers, again, because the Ravens don't pass at the level that some of these other teams do. Regardless, Lamar's rushing production, combined with his cost relative to Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers, I like Lamar for this game. I like Dobbins for this game. I do think that they will commit to the run, even if they're trailing. They're going to play to the strengths of their offense. And then I'm grabbing Andrews as well. For the wide receivers, again, I'm tempted to put Hollywood Brown in there. It's just, do I really want four Ravens, and two of which are part of the passing offense that is low volume? They're not bad, it's just they're low volume. Maybe there's a little bit more volume if they're trailing. As far as the other receivers go, I still like this game. It's a tough matchup for the Bills offense, but I can't ignore Stephon Diggs. You have to have at least one of Adams or Diggs in your lineup. And since I'm passing on Devontae Adams, which feels crazy, he averages a touchdown at home. I've said that a million times. But Jalen Ramsey presents a tough matchup for Adams. I think if I'm going to go with a stud receiver here, it's going to be Diggs. Came on strong in the wildcard game, caught a touchdown. And the Bills throw the ball more than almost everybody in the NFL. So the passing volume here is large. It's high. So I'll take the number one receiver. In fact, I'm pretty much likely, if I'm not grabbing Hollywood Brown in the Lamar stack, I think I am kind of bringing this stack along in this game with all of the Bills wide receivers, which it feels weird not to add Josh Allen to that mix. But I like Stephon Diggs, I like Cole Beasley, and I like Gabe Davis. And all three of those guys are affordable and you're able to add them into the lineup with your Ravens stack. I also like Isaiah McKenzie. I liked him last week. He zeroed. He didn't do anything in the wild card game, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him a little bit more involved. Maybe lining up in the backfield a little bit more frequently this week because Zach Moss is done for the postseason. That's a loss for the Bills. So they're going to have to get creative. They have TJ Yeldon. I can't endorse him. He hasn't played much all year. It's the playoffs. I would think they maybe try to involve someone who has played more on offense this year, and that's McKenzie. So I'm all in on the Bills pass catchers, even if I'm not, and I do try to typically say look for stacks. But I'm going to have Lamar as my quarterback. So I'm going to miss out on Bills stacks, but I still want their wide receivers. I want Diggs, I want Beasley, and I'll have lineups where I choose between Davis and McKenzie, but I don't have a problem with either one of them. Now, to make all of this work, I do probably have to suck it up and take the Ravens defense. Between Packers, Rams, and the Bills, I probably have to suck it up and take the Ravens defense. They are the cheapest, but they're still a really strong unit. It's a brutal matchup for them. The Bills' offense poses all sorts of problems for anybody that they're playing. But the contrarian thought here is if it's cold, if the offenses are struggling to score, could see a play or two out of the defense. But what this really comes down to is the Ravens are the cheapest option. I know they're on the road, but this allows me to allocate more funds to my starting lineup. Look, if you want to play the Packers, they probably have the best matchup at this point going up against Goff and the injured thumb, but they're the most expensive of the four defenses. So just understand you're ponying up the most money to defense if you take the Packers. And if the Rams don't turn the ball over, which they did not against Seattle, it's going to be hard for that return on investment to hit. So I'd rather take a flyer on the cheapest option. That is the Ravens, and they are a good unit, even on the road. Yes, points may be scored against them, but you'll counter that if you have those Bills. If a Bills wide receiver scores against the Ravens defense, it's still a net gain of 2 points for you, which is not a lot. But if the Ravens are able to make a play, get a couple turnovers here or there, they'll offset those losses they get from points allowed. I think that game is high quality. I think there's going to be some efficient play. And the cost of the players in that game, the players that I mentioned, to me allows for maximum potential of the lineup. Allows you to put your best foot forward with some really intriguing options that have been strong all year long. The contrarian angle is if you want to get Devontae Adams in there, if you want to get Aaron Jones in there, not only do they need to hit on their high price tag, but you're going to be taking a couple of shots in the dark, a couple of dart throws, which can absolutely pay dividends in the playoffs. And if you hit on a dart throw in a GPP, you'll be right there. You'll be up there. You'll see a nice payday. But I'd rather allocate funds to as many quality options as I can at this point in the playoffs, when teams are much more likely to rely on the studs that got them here. My quarterback's going to be Lamar. My running backs are Akers and Dobbins. The contrarian is if you want to find a way to get Aaron Jones in there, I get it. But he's a high price tag, and both Jamal Williams and A.J. Dillon are lurking and could be involved. So there's a little bit of built-in downside. Even if Aaron Jones hits his 10, 12 points, which has been his floor this year, which is a great floor, but you don't want his floor at the price he is currently commanding. So Akers and Dobbins are the running backs I like. Diggs, Beasley, pretty much the Bills receivers I'm in on. Diggs, Beasley. Gabe Davis had a nice game last week. He's absolutely worth a flyer. Isaiah McKenzie didn't do anything in the wild card game, but I suspect an expanded role as more of a gadget player with Zach Moss out. So I have no problem with him getting into the lineup. Mark Andrews is the tight end I prefer. The contrarian is Tunyon, just because of the connection with Rodgers. But Andrews has far and away the best matchup of the weekend. And if I have Lamar, I do want to find a stack in the passing game. And I think this week that play is Andrews. And then the Ravens defense. Look, they're the cheapest. They are what allow you to afford this lineup that I have suggested. This lineup is affordable with the Ravens defense. I mean, contrarian is the Packers. Obviously, the Rams have been a really strong unit. They got a pick 6 against Seattle in the wild card round. But you're chasing points if that play already happened. You cannot see that play and then hope or bank on it happening again. Especially with Rodgers having an MVP season. The Rams are a hard sell right now, even though they've been excellent on defense this year. So I'm going to suggest the Ravens. It's dicey, no doubt, but they are the cheapest. It allows you to allocate more funds to the rest of your lineup. You may feel like you will be sweating this one out if you only have one, maybe two players in your lineup from the early game, but I expect strong, efficient production from both the Bills and the Ravens in the night game. They'll allow you to play catch up and get the points that you need for the payout. So there you have it. Those are my Saturday DFS picks. Make sure you get Lamar in there. I think the rushing upside this week is huge. Good luck to the Bills defense, but I think he could run wild. You may have to you may decide you want to go a little bit deeper into the playbook, grab a couple flyers here and there. At this point, it's hard to project and hit on dart throws. They're called dart throws for a reason. Get the guys in there that have gotten their teams. They are the reason that their teams are where they are at. And I think on the whole, we're just in for some great football. So good luck in DFS. I think these lineups have a chance to really do some damage. And then, of course, as always, keep it here. I'll be bringing my Sunday picks for DFS tomorrow so that you have time to set your lineups and go get that bread. So go ahead, start putting them together, and let's get some wins.